Gen X Joe and the youth gone wild. Podcast is making your summer a blast. Lined up for interviews or rock. Legends in the game and new blood trying to make a name. Streaming everywhere. Yeah. And the youth gone wild. Podcast is making your summer a blast. Lined up for interviews or rock. Legends in the game and new blood trying to make a name. Streaming everywhere.
What is going on, my fellow beach bums? Well, wait, I'm sorry. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. Maybe you are not at the beach. Maybe you are just on a staycation. That's cool too. But myself, Gen X Joe, I am actually on vacation for the next couple of weeks. And then I have a couple of road trips I need to go on with the family and a few other commitments that I need to be taken care of. Now, before you jump to conclusions, the answer is no. No, I am not going to jail. My youth gone wild side is way in the past. That's why my show is now called the Youth Gone Mild Podcast. And just to reintroduce my podcast, it is the Youth Gone Mild, where hairlines fade, but rock never does. And normally I would be saying I am coming to you from my studio called Wherever I May Roam. However, I am actually coming to you from wherever this summer takes me. And these episodes coming up in the next couple of weeks or month, I am calling them the vacation episodes. They are already pre-produced and going to be streaming throughout the entire month of July and possibly into August. I am still going to be bringing you the best conversations, the best stories, and of course, the best guest in the rock scene today. And hell, I have some legends and I have some new blood that's trying to make a name for themselves. Great interviews all lined up. And before I get to the interview, I just want to thank my sponsor, Lisa Gandia of Celebrity Events. If you are a new artist, an established artist, or even an old head, and you are looking to book shows nationally, Lisa is the person you want to get in touch with. Tell her Gen X Joe sent you, and you can reach out to her on her website at celebrityeventsrock.com. For social media, for myself here at the Youth Gone Mild podcast, we are on all major social media platforms at Youth Gone Mild PC. And as I like to say, the PC does not stand for politically correct. All right, so it's time to kick back, crack open something cold, enjoy that sun, the sand if you're at the beach, and most importantly, the sound of the Youth Gone Mild podcast. I am in vacation mode, and these are the vacation episodes of the Youth Gone Mild podcast. Here's today's interview.
Hello.
Hey, man, what's up?
Hey, dude. Sorry.
Listening to a lot of your tunes. I really love Whiskey's Down the Drain, man.
Oh yeah, man. That's our first single that we put out.
Mhm.
We put it out as the first single because we were like, yeah, that's probably one of the best ones that we've got. So.
Now, who's your main songwriter in the band?
So it's kind of a mix. It's for the first album, it's mainly my guitarist. The first album kind of started as a solo project for him because he couldn't find any other like-minded musicians. And he played the guitar, bass, drums, keys, everything. And then when I joined, I ended up rewriting some stuff, and I added Poison Ivy, which I wrote by myself. So it's kind of a mix of us two for the first album. But for the second album, it's very much split. Like every member writes their own parts, kind of thing.
So you and Tizzy, man, How did you guys actually meet up?
Well, it was kind of one of those lucky moments, you know what I mean? Because I was told by a friend of mine, like, hey, you should probably join a band, like, play live if you want to do this whole thing. Because I kept telling him, like, I want to join a band, I want to join a band, but like, I wasn't actually doing the joining part. I wasn't taking that very seriously, you know what I mean? I was more fantasizing about it. So I went on this site. I'm sure you guys have equivalents in the US called Join My Band. It's like a sort of like an ad listing board site
Hmm.
where you've got all the different regions of England, and then you can put out an ad saying, "Hey, I'm a singer or I'm a guitarist or whatnot." So I put out an ad. I had a bunch of replies. Some of them were like young guys like me. Tizzy's about 6 years older than me, so I was more inclined to answer the other guys first. I was like, oh yeah, you know, whatever, like, you know, that my age will have fun, you know. I listened to their demos. They were okay. I was like, all right, it's my first time, whatever. But then I did end up listening to the things that Tizzy sent me, and I was like, holy shit, no. I'm like, I'd be an idiot if I if I chose anything else. So Vainwild was, well, like, it wasn't Vainwild at the time. And then I joined. I opened up all the social media. I sort of, you know, I started the whole business side of the band. We called it Vainwild, and we kind of built it together. But it's kind of our generation's version of MTV. You know, you got to do whatever you got to do to get seen. You know, I've been very vocal about the fact that some of the stuff that I post is a bit cringy. Some of it, like, you know, it makes me like, is a bit embarrassing and whatever. And I'm not personally a fan of everything that I put out. You know, some of it makes me cringe. You know, some of the stuff that I put out, I kind of know that I have to put it out because it gets clicks and it gets views and it gets the band attention. Because, you know, at the end of the day, when the system is rigged against you, when the labels aren't sending out A&R guys to look at bands anymore, you got to do what you got to do to get seen. And that's kind of how I feel about my, you know, not so liked videos and some of the embarrassing videos, because they may be embarrassing and they may get like 50% hate comments, but if there's a chance that for every, you know, person that hates it, another person will go listen to our music, that's a chance that I'm willing to take. You know what I mean?
Whatever you need to do to get your name out there and the band's name, why not?
Well, I think with the videos that you put out there, and I'm not going to call them clickbait because there's nothing really negative, in my opinion, about them, but it does get the clicks. And again, how I had said, that's what drew me to you guys was your videos. And I'm happy that it did because now I discover new music.
Yeah, I mean, I think more people should have that attitude, because I feel like we're currently in a bit of a position, especially in the rock scene. I mean, I can't speak for the rap scene, the pop scene, strictly in the rock and metal scene. I feel like we're in a bit of a rut. Like people are like, oh, you know, I like 80s bands. I'm gonna listen to bands from the 80s, or oh, hey, let's see what inspired these 80s bands. I'm gonna go listen to bands from the 70s and the 60s and maybe the 90s. But then you go up to them and you say, oh, hey, like, do you wanna see what your generation is doing? Do you want to listen to bands your age? And they're like, no, they're not as good as the 80s. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, people in the 80s or 90s had that attitude. Everyone would just be listening to the Beatles and the Stones, and you wouldn't have Guns N' Roses, you wouldn't have Bon Jovi, you wouldn't have Van Halen, you know. So I think it's a really foolish mindset to have that unfortunately too many people have. I think sometimes people don't necessarily, well, aren't necessarily able to tell like satire or sarcasm very easily, because it was our own music playing behind the, you know, the background music was our own. So whoever heard it and liked it, they would have gone and then listened to our stuff, you know. So it's kind of worth it at the end of the day, you know, to piss a few people off, in my book. It's kind of a double-edged sword, and both edges of the sword benefit me in a way.
Nice.
It's a very smart marketing strategy.
Absolutely. And, going back to what you said earlier, people were telling you you should join a band and then you wanted to join a band, but yet you didn't take it seriously. But man, you dove headfirst into being in Vain Wild, and now you're handling the business end, the social media end. And you know what? You are definitely getting noticed out there.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, yeah, it's crazy to me when I think about the fact that Vain Wild was my first band. Because, like, most people, when they talk about their first band, they were like, oh, it was some college thing that I, started and broke up in 2 weeks and, we played some cover shows. I don't know. That's usually most people's story of their first band. My first band, as of right now, has over 50,000 followers on social media. So it's very much one of those things where I got very lucky, obviously, because you're reaching out. Because if you didn't reach out, I don't think I could have written those songs by myself. But also, I have to give myself credit because I feel like I'm one of those people that if it's sort of an upside and a downside because I feel like if I had joined a shitty band and put my heart and soul into it, worked my ass off, and then it failed, I'm not one of those people that's very likely to then go do that 10 more times with 10 other bands. You know what I mean? I'd probably lose hope by about the second or third band. But if that first band is promising and has potential, then I'm gonna work, my ass off day and night, and I'm gonna keep going no matter what. So it was luck. It was a mix of luck and determination and hard work. It was kind of lightning in a bottle, I guess you could say.
Well, it's no secret that Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses played an influence in the music of Vain Wild.
Well, my wanting to be a rock star, I'd say came from two places. One is quite surprising. One is a band that you wouldn't really associate with the glam metal scene or the 80s or anything, which is Linkin Park. I was a big Transformers kid. I grew up on the 80s cartoon. I was one of the kids that cried when Optimus Prime was killed off in the first like 10 minutes of the movie. Um, you know, and then obviously the Michael Bay movies had a pretty big impact on me. And those had Linkin Park. I think the first three movies had like Linkin Park like all over them. I don't know why Michael Bay loved Linkin Park so much, but those movies had loads of Linkin Park. And I got into them through those movies. And subsequently, Chester Bennington, who's an incredible singer and I think one of the best to do it, inspired me to then become a singer myself. Um, and it was a bit of a silly reason for starting. It was around the time when Chester Bennington passed away in 2017. In my little head, I was like, if I become a good enough singer, maybe I'll be the new singer for Linkin Park, which is a very, it's a stupid reason to get into singing, but it did start me off. And then seeing Guns N' Roses live in 2023, which was my first time seeing them live. I've seen them live twice now. That like yeah, seeing those guys on stage and that just really made me like look at that and go like I want to do that. I want to be on that stage. I want to sing my songs to this amount of people, and those two were really the driving factors that got me into it. Out of those like early '80s bands like Rat, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, and Twisted Sister, I've definitely stuck with Rat. I love Rat. Motley's okay. I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't think Motley should have represented the scene as much as they did. I feel like, like sort of mythology wise, image wise, and their crazy stories, yeah, definitely awesome, cool. But music wise, there's far better bands that didn't make it nearly as big as them. But yeah, Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister, those kinds of bands, I never really got into them. Dokken as well, not really a big fan of Dokken, mainly due to Don Dokken. I can't stand his voice, but George Lynch is cool. So yeah, yeah, Lynch Mob I definitely prefer a lot more to Dokken because I think I mean obviously they took the best part of Dokken, which was George, and then replaced the singer with a better one. So
Hey, I'm not going to argue that point with you.
yeah, I don't know what it is about Don. Like he's technically a gifted singer. It's not that he doesn't have like the voice. Like there's technically singers which are far worse than him that I prefer to him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about him. I feel like he lacks punch. He lacks edge. He takes these like really like nasty, gritty riffs and then basically like, you know, like people call Axl Rose Mickey Mouse, but he sounds more like Mickey Mouse, you know. In my dreams, it's still like no, it's just like you need to belt that, you know. You need to hit it with that. I don't know. I just think he could be so much more.
Kind of a little late for him nowadays, but
Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
man. Well, you guys got 4 singles out, 4 music videos. What is next for Vain Wild?
Well, you know, we put out the album in March. That was 13 new tracks. Well, obviously, as you said, there were 4 singles with music videos. We kind of, you know, we try to do like an old 80s thing where, because with the first album you're still learning stuff, you're still starting out, you don't exactly know what to do. We very much took a lot of inspiration from the 80s in terms of the production of the music videos, in terms of putting out like, you know, a rocker, then a ballad, then a rocker, then a ballad, you know, like we took a lot of inspiration. And you know, the album definitely has a wide variety of songs. You got a song like No Sanity, which is quite heavy by our standards. Some people compare it to like Marilyn Manson. Heard that one thrown around. And then you got songs like No Sun Today, which was a war song. So yeah, like there's such a big variety. But at the end of the day, I think this first album is very inspired by, you know, our influences. Whereas the second album, which we're now in the process of writing, it's more, you know, unique. It's more sort of, okay, we've sort of paid homage to the 80s bands, and we've sort of started carving out our own style, but then like where do we go from there? Like distance ourselves a bit from Bon Jovi and Van Halen, and try and like we need to like try and find ourselves a bit more, which is why, you know, the second album, it's still definitely got everything that makes the first album great, like, but the ballads, you know, we've got 2 or 3 ballads now, I believe, written. You know, they're bigger. They're more. You know, the guitar solos are more intricate. There's more. The vocals are more powerful. Like, you know, I express myself more. Then we've got like a song which we wrote last time we got together, which was inspired by the Cult. You know, like the Sonic Temple album specifically. You know, it's got that sort of classic rock sort of swing, and Ian Astbury's sort of vocal style, you know, inspired me a lot with the way I sing that. And you know, there's such a broad influence for the second album. Where for the first album, you know, you listen to it and you're like, okay, like that sounds like Motley Crue, that sounds like Def Leppard, but for the second album, it's like, oh, like there's like 10 different bands combined into this one song. And at that point, you can't even say that it sounds like one of those bands. It just sounds like Vain Wild. It just sounds like its own unique thing. And I think that's what makes it really cool and special. We know more, you know, like we've already spoken about like the release schedule. We're going to release more singles because for the first album, as you said, released 4. That was inspired by the 80s. Like, you know, we released 3 singles and then that was going to be it. And then we were going to be like, well, wait a minute, you know, New Jersey by Bon Jovi had 5 singles or whatever. We can release one more to keep the fans happy. We
Right.
very much followed the playbook for the 80s. Whereas now we're like, okay, that's fine, but it's 2026. At the end of the day, this release schedule, you know, releasing more singles, like 6 or 7 singles, actually works better nowadays. And considering, you know, the next album, we're also aiming for like 13 or 14 songs. You know, the audience is still getting like 6 new songs when the album drops. It's not like releasing more singles is necessarily a bad thing. Like, there's still plenty of new songs on the album. So yeah, like I said, we've learned more about the industry, and we've taken a different approach to how we're going to do it this time around. Major labels don't have as much control as they did before, but what they offer is financial support, which is
Right.
something like that bands like us desperately need. You know, it's all well and good that we have full creative control and that we can, you know, I design our own posters, I design the album cover, you know, we direct our own music videos. That's all well and good. But you know, if the label decided how to shoot the music video for us, or if the label designed some of our tour posters, I don't think we'd necessarily mind some of that being taken off our hands if it meant that we actually got money to go into the studio and we got to put out an album faster. And because I don't think nowadays record labels are as picky about, apologies, that's my dog.
No
I
problem.
don't think record labels, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think record labels are as picky about the sort of music that bands make as much, because there's not really a sound anymore that the record labels stream for. Like in the 80s, it was glam. In the 90s, everyone would sound like Nirvana. In the 2000s, it would sound like Limp Bizkit. Now what is it, you know? Like, there's no sort of unified sound. So if a band if a record label signs a band, it's because they've got a lot of followers. It's because they've achieved an audience, whether that's on social media or live. And the record label understands that they've done that now by themselves because something that they're doing is working and connecting with people. So why would then they go out of their way to completely change that sound and then control it? So I think labels are a bit more, they allow more freedom for the artist nowadays, which is good.
You know, for someone as young as you're pretty damn smart.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I watch and read a lot about the industry, and I watch a lot of old interviews, and that stuff just really fascinates me because I wanna know the inside and out of the scene, and I feel like you can't really count on yourself to succeed if you don't, because I don't like pinning my success on blind faith. I don't like, say we get into a meeting with a record label and they're like, well, why do you think, why should we invest in you? I don't like being like, well, just trust me, we're going to get big. I want to have reasons. Well, this song connects with this audience. We have these videos that we're making that drive in this amount of interaction stuff. I like having tangible evidence to drive us forward. You know what I mean?
Now, has anybody from the industry, have you heard any knocking lately, or?
Our producer, who worked with us on our first album, Graham Dominy, who's an amazing guy. He's worked with a lot of industry greats. He's worked with Elton John. He worked with the Eurythmics. I believe John Bon Jovi visited his studio once to work with them. I don't know if they ended up making anything, but he's worked with a lot of cool people, and he himself, for his side project, has publishing with I think it's Universal, or a subsidiary of Universal. And he was like, hey, like I brought you guys up in a meeting with the publisher. He said, like, don't expect anything, but you're being watched. So as far as major label interaction goes, that's all we've really been told. But in terms of more sort of tangible evidence, this summer tour that we're starting in, which we're not headlining, we're opening up for an American band called the Starbenders, who are really cool. But that's an opportunity that we've never had before. Like, to us, a few months ago, a packed room of 50 people was like a really great crowd, and now we're going to be playing in front of 1,000. So it's going up, like, and I think it's just it's only up from there, really, one opportunity after another, I guess. Unfortunately, the artists can only do so much. Even if they are headlining, even if it's their show, they can only pull so many strings. At the end of the day, it's the promoter and the agent who has the final say.
If there's one song, and as we finish up, if there's one song you would want introduced to new fans of Vain Wild, what would that be?
I mean, you pointed out Whiskey's Down the Drain at the start of the interview, but I'm not gonna go with that one. I'm gonna go with High Night, which is the first opening track of the album, because I think I fought for that album, for that song to start the album, because I was like, I think that song, not only does it have a great intro, but it also like encapsulates the sound of the band. I'm glad that happened, because I think that it truly does. I think if anyone wants to give Vain Wild a chance, you should start with High Night, for sure. So check it out.
Awesome, and good choice, by the way. And
we have the same username on every platform. It's at Vain Wild. That's VAINWILD. And our main sort of music platform is, I guess, Spotify, but We're also on Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, whatever. Like, I don't particularly use those, but I know we're on them. So wherever you are, we're probably on there. Yeah, hit us up and enjoy listening to the music, I guess.
Absolutely, man. Artem, I just want to thank you for being a guest here on the Youth Gone Mild podcast, man. Again, I'm wishing you and Tizzy and the rest of the band all the best of luck, and I hope that second album comes together real soon and you get some backing on that.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, hopefully we can do another one of these in the future sometime.
All right. Just because this episode is over does not mean summer is over yet. Oh, hell no. We still got 2 full months of summer left, but not quite 2 full months of pre-produced Youth Gone Mild podcast. I should be back second week of August with all brand new openings and closings. But until then, you're kind of stuck with what you got. And I do apologize for that. But like I said, we have a family vacation coming up, a few road trips, and other commitments that I need to be taken care of. I hope everybody understands. I'd just like to thank my guest or guest here on the Youth Gone Mild podcast today, all of my listeners, and my sponsor, Celebrity Events by Lisa Gandia. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, go to my social media pages at Youth Gone Mild PC. Give it a like, give it a follow, leave a comment. And if you're looking for the next episode date of the Youth Gone Mild podcast to resurface, then just follow us on all our social media platforms. And don't forget, we are also out there on all major streaming networks. And give us a like and a follow there as well. All right, this is Gen X Joe telling you to rock loud, live proud. Peace out. Props everyone for listening to the Youth Gone Mild podcast, where hairlines fade, but rock never does.
Gen X Joe and you